All right, let's dive into something pretty fascinating, huh? The law of one. And
Yeah.
we're going to look at it with a philosophy of mind lens. It
Yeah.
might seem kind of different at first glance, but stick with us. We're going to show you how they can actually complement each other.
Right.
Pretty cool.
Right.
So imagine you're trying to understand this law of one.
Yeah.
You know the one, right? It suggests that we're all interconnected, all beings and things,
Hmm.
and you're trying to figure out how to actually live, apply these principles in your own life.
Yeah.
Well, get this. Exploring the philosophy of mind could actually be the key.
It really could. It might seem like a bit of an unexpected pairing at first,
Yep.
but trust me, philosophy of mind, it goes deep into the nature of consciousness, our mental states.
Yeah.
It can give us some really practical insights into this whole law of one thing. It's all about making those connections, the ones you might not see right away.
Okay, I'm intrigued. So let's break down this law of one a bit more. Like, what are the big ideas, the things people really need to grasp to get it? I'm really fascinated by that whole idea of wanderers, souls from higher densities coming down to Earth to help us evolve.
Mhm.
What's that all about?
Ah, the wanderers. Okay, so yeah, the law of one is really all about recognizing that we're all fundamentally one,
Okay.
unity of all things, and living in a way that reflects that. Service to others is a big part of this, not just as a nice thing to do, but like a pathway to spiritual evolution.
Right, right.
And it's not just about good intentions either. It emphasizes this balance between love and wisdom in our actions.
That's a tough balance,
It
right?
is.
So are you saying like our thoughts can actually shape reality? This sounds a bit out there.
Yeah, it might sound like something out of, I don't know, a sci-fi movie,
Yeah.
but that's where the concept of mental causation from philosophy of mind comes in. It tackles this very question. Can our thoughts and intentions really influence the physical world?
Mhm.
The law of one definitely seems to think so, and that's where things get super interesting.
Okay, I'm starting to see how these ideas connect. But let's get back to those wanderers for a sec.
Mm.
If they come here to help us evolve, but they forget their mission when they incarnate,
Yeah.
how do they even know what they're supposed to do?
That's where catalyst comes into play. See, according to the law of one, life throws us these challenges,
Yeah.
experiences catalysts to help us grow spiritually. It's through these challenges that wanderers, and actually all of us, can start to remember who we truly are
Hmm.
and make choices that are aligned with the path we want to be on, that service to others path. Think of it like a wake-up call, a cosmic wake-up call.
So even if we don't like consciously remember being a wanderer,
Yeah.
we can still use this idea of challenges as opportunities for growth, right?
Absolutely. Every challenge,
Mm.
whether it's like a difficult conversation, a setback at work, or even just a frustrating traffic jam, can be seen as a chance to learn and evolve. And, philosophy of mind can offer a really helpful perspective here, too. Think about the concept of qualia, the subjective, qualitative experiences of our mental states. We each experience the world in our own unique way,
Right.
and those individual experiences shape who we are.
So even though the law of one stresses unity,
Right.
it acknowledges the importance of individual journeys. Like those unique experiences actually contribute to the whole.
Exactly. It's like a giant tapestry. Each thread, each individual experience,
Yeah.
it contributes to the overall beauty, to the complexity of the design. And this ties in with that famous philosophical thought experiment, what is it like to be a bat? We can never truly know what it's like to experience the world from another being's perspective.
Right.
But trying to imagine it, that very act, it can help us expand our compassion and connect more deeply with that principle of unity.
So we're learning from philosophy of mind that even though we're all connected, our individual experiences are super important.
Yeah.
And we should really try to understand and empathize with the experiences of others,
Yeah.
even those who seem very different from us.
Exactly. And this brings us to another key idea from philosophy of mind that really resonates with the law of one free will.
Oh.
Just as we can never fully grasp another being's experience, we also have to respect their right to make their own choices. Forcing our beliefs on others would go against the very principle of unity and respect for all beings that the law of one champions.
So respecting free will is super important.
Hmm.
But it also raises some really tough questions. Like, if we're all part of this unified consciousness, how can we really have individual free will? And if there's this single source of love and light, how do we explain the existence of evil and suffering in the world? Those are some pretty heavy questions. Can we even hope to find answers?
Those are the big ones, aren't they? And I don't claim to have all the answers, or even any definitive ones for that matter.
Right.
But I don't think the point is to necessarily find all the answers.
Okay.
The law of one, and I'd say philosophy in general, encourages us to wrestle with these mysteries.
Hmm.
It's through that exploration, through that willingness to grapple with these big ideas that we grow and evolve.
I like that. It's not about having all the answers, but about the journey of seeking them. And
Hmm.
those tough questions about free will, about evil and suffering, they're actually opportunities to go deeper.
Exactly. They're not meant to discourage us, but to refine our understanding of the law of one and help us find our unique place in this incredible tapestry of interconnectedness.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground, but I'm still trying to figure out how this all plays out in everyday life.
So, we've been talking about these really big concepts, but
Yeah.
let's bring it down to earth a bit. How do we actually put all this into practice in our everyday lives?
I was just thinking that it's all very fascinating, but I'm eager to see how it applies to, real life.
Mm.
Especially those big questions we were talking about, like
Right, right.
the problem of evil, stuff like that.
Well, let's go back to that idea of service to others that's so central to the law of one.
Okay.
It's not necessarily about, grand heroic acts or anything like that. It's really about those small conscious choices that we make every day, like how we interact with other people,
Yeah.
how we approach our work, even how we treat ourselves. All of these seemingly mundane actions can actually become powerful acts of service.
So even something as simple as like holding the door for someone or listening to a friend who's having a rough day,
Exactly.
those are acts of service.
Exactly. And remember that concept of mental causation we were talking about?
Hmm.
When we approach those everyday actions with a genuine intention of kindness and helpfulness,
Right.
we actually amplify their positive impact.
It's like we're putting an extra dose of positive energy into the world.
Yeah, yeah.
But how do we make sure our actions are really beneficial? The law of one talks about balancing love with wisdom, and that sounds a lot easier than it actually is.
It definitely is. There's no magic formula for perfect wisdom,
Right.
but philosophy of mind can actually offer us some guidance here. It encourages us to really examine our beliefs, question our assumptions, and consider multiple perspectives before we jump into action.
So instead of just going with our gut feeling all the time,
Yeah.
we should slow down, think it through, consider the consequences of our actions.
Exactly.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
But sometimes life throws you curveballs,
Yeah.
and it's hard to stay grounded and make those wise choices when you're in the thick of it.
And that's where the law of one's concept of catalyst becomes so valuable. Life is going to throw us those challenges, those curveballs, as you said.
Mhm.
But we always have the power to choose how we respond to them. Instead of asking, why me? We can choose to ask, what can I learn from this?
It's like shifting your perspective from feeling like a victim to seeing challenges as opportunities to grow.
Exactly.
That makes me think about those wanderers we talked about earlier.
Mm.
Even if we don't consciously remember a past life as some higher density being,
Right.
we can all benefit from kind of adopting that wanderer mindset of service.
Yeah.
Choosing to be a positive force in the world.
Absolutely. We don't have to get caught up in, whether we're literally wanderers or not.
Right.
The key takeaway is embracing that mindset of service and really striving to learn from all our experiences, even the tough ones.
Okay, so this is starting to feel a bit more practical, a bit more down to earth. But what about those really big, philosophical questions that we were talking about before?
Yeah.
Like the problem of evil. How do we square that with this idea of a unified consciousness of love and light?
Yeah.
There's so much suffering in the world. That's a tough one for me.
That is a question that has challenged philosophers and theologians for centuries, really.
Yeah.
And the law of one doesn't shy away from these difficult questions. In fact,
Exactly.
it actually encourages us to wrestle with them.
Hmm.
It's through that grappling, that questioning and searching that our understanding deepens.
So it's okay to have doubts,
Yeah.
to not have everything figured out.
Absolutely. It's not about, blind acceptance.
Okay.
But about an evolving, informed understanding. The problem of evil is incredibly complex, and there are so many perspectives on it.
Right.
From a law of one perspective, one way to approach it is through the lens of free will. If we have the power to choose, then we also have the power to choose, darkness over light,
Hmm.
actions that cause harm.
But if we're all ultimately part of this one unified consciousness, wouldn't that make us all, I don't know, somehow complicit in those acts of darkness?
Right, and that's where the paradox comes in, you see. The law of one suggests that we exist in the state of both unity and duality. We're both individuals with our own choices
Yeah.
and part of a greater whole at the same time. It's like one of those optical illusions where
Yeah.
you can see two images in one picture.
Yeah.
The problem of evil is it's part of that paradoxical nature of reality.
So it's not about ignoring the darkness or pretending it's not there.
Yeah.
It's about acknowledging it, learning from it,
Yeah,
and finding a way to kind of transform it into something positive.
exactly.
But that feels incredibly difficult, especially with so much negativity in the world around us.
It is a challenge, no doubt. But the concept of mental causation, it offers a really powerful perspective here.
Mm-hmm.
If our thoughts and intentions can actually shape reality, then we have the potential to be, agents of healing and transformation,
Right.
even in the face of darkness.
That's incredibly empowering. It's
Yeah.
not about waiting for the world to magically become perfect.
Right.
It's about recognizing our own power and choosing to be the change we want to see. Are there specific practices we can use to tap into that power?
Absolutely. So are you ready to explore some of those practices?
Absolutely. Let's get into the how-to,
Mhm.
What can we actually do in our daily lives to align ourselves with this principle of unity and become those agents of positive change we're talking about?
Okay, well, first things first, the law of one really emphasizes the power of meditation.
Meditation. Okay.
Yeah. And it's not just about, relaxation or stress relief, although those are great benefits too. It's really about connecting with that deeper source of love and wisdom that flows through all of us. It's about tapping into that unified consciousness.
So it's like meditation helps us strengthen our connection to that interconnected web of being.
Exactly.
But how does that translate into real-world change?
Well, think back to our conversation about mental causation.
Okay.
That idea that our thoughts can actually influence the physical world.
Right, right.
Meditation can be seen as a way to train our minds to cultivate more positive and harmonious thoughts. Imagine each positive thought during meditation as like a tiny ripple of energy, influencing the very fabric of reality.
Okay, I'm starting to see how this works. It's like a mental workout,
Yeah.
strengthening our capacity for love, compassion, wisdom.
Yeah, exactly.
But meditation can be tough. Sometimes I feel like I'm just sitting there battling with my own thoughts.
And that's where mindfulness comes in. It's like the perfect complement to meditation.
Okay.
Mindfulness is all about paying attention to the present moment,
Where?
to our thoughts, our feelings, our sensations, but without judgment.
Right.
It's about slowing down, savoring life, and becoming aware of those subtle, subjective experiences, those
Yeah.
qualia we were talking about earlier.
So mindfulness helps us tune into our own unique experience of the world,
Yeah.
but also allows us to better understand and empathize with the experiences of others, even if they're totally different from our own.
Exactly.
But can these practices really help us deal with the messiness of everyday life? You know what I mean?
Right. Absolutely. Let's say you're in a really stressful situation at work. Instead of just, reacting impulsively, you can use mindfulness to observe your thoughts and feelings without judgment. And that allows you to respond with more clarity, more wisdom,
Mhm.
choosing actions that align with your values and help create a more harmonious outcome.
That's a great example. So we're not just meditating to feel good.
Right.
We're using these practices to become more conscious, more intentional in our everyday lives.
Exactly. And it's not about achieving some kind of, perfect enlightened state.
Yeah.
The law of one reminds us that transformation is a gradual process. It's ongoing. It's about striving to make choices moment by moment that reflect that underlying principle of unity.
It's like we're each weaving a thread into this giant tapestry of existence. But the
Yeah.
quality of our thread, it depends on the choices we make, the thoughts we cultivate, the actions we take.
That's a beautiful way to put it. And remember, we don't have to be perfect. We're all on a journey, right? The key is to keep learning, keep growing, and keep choosing love even when we stumble.
Be kind to yourself, embrace the journey, trust the process. Those are powerful takeaways.
As we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with one final thought.
Okay.
If the law of one is true, if we really are all interconnected, like truly interconnected, then each of us has a huge responsibility. Our thoughts, intentions, and actions, they all contribute to the collective reality we share.
It's not just about our personal growth, our own enlightenment.
Right.
It's about recognizing that we're all in this together,
Mm,
co-creating the world around us.
exactly. So I'll leave you with this question. What kind of world do you want to help create? What kind of legacy do you want to leave behind? The Law of One, especially when we look at it through this lens of philosophy of mind, it empowers us to become conscious co-creators of a more loving, more harmonious reality.
This deep dive has given us all a lot to think about. Thanks for sharing your insights. And to our listeners, I encourage you to keep exploring these ideas and to find your own unique way to really embody the wisdom of the Law of One. Thanks for joining us.